Okay. Okay. Take two. Question one. Can the betrayed partner become novel to a recovering porn addict once porn is no longer accessible? Is my addict's sudden interest in having sex with me and desiring me after a year of avoiding it temporary before he finds me boring and starts objectifying women again? Do you need me to type that so you
No,
can see?
I'm
Okay, you got
tracking
it.
on that one. So yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
more like
yeah,
talk about what you tell the guys. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. What happens with porn addiction is guys do become inured. They get used to this very, very high level of intensity and stimulation with pornography. Um, a lot of times they will develop what we call porn-induced erectile dysfunction, meaning they can get an erection and reach orgasm with pornography, but not with their real world partner. And novelty is one of the reasons why that happens. Um, uh, Novelty, what we call intermittent reward, which I'm not going to get too deeply into that. I've talked about it on the webinar with Tami and I think. Um, and you can read the book Porn Addiction 101, which talks about it pretty intelligently and cogently there. Um, Novelty, variety, novelty, huge part of the allure of pornography addiction. Um, Internet rule number 34, if it exists, there's porn of it. Corollary rule 34A, even if it doesn't exist, there's porn of it. Um, so, yeah, it is part of the problem. Now, I don't know how long it has been since your betrayed or since your partner, the porn user, has gotten sober. If he has been sober for a year and now he's suddenly interested in sex with you, that is great news. If you enjoy being sexual with him, that's great news because his brain has had time to reset, and he's not using you as a replacement for porn. His brain is back to baseline. He's probably, and again, I don't have all the info, but he's probably using it as an attempt to express love. I always talk to addicts. Healthy sex for sex addicts is an expression, a physical expression of the emotional intimacy that already exists. Um, that's what healthy sex should look like for sex and porn addicts moving forward. I don't know if he's at that stage yet. If he just stopped using porn 2 weeks ago and he suddenly wants to have sex with you, I might say, you know what? Why don't you get sober and stay sober for 6 months, and then we'll talk about this? Because that would be what we call a replacement addiction. It's if I can't look at porn, I'll eat cookies. If I can't eat cookies, I'll drink. If I can't drink, I'll go chase my wife around. We don't want that. But eventually, when a porn addict's brain resets, and when the emotional intimacy redevelops, absolutely. If as long as it takes two people to tango here, as long as the betrayed partner is also ready to have sex, then I would say go for it. So I just don't know where you are in the process. Added to add, it's been 3 months. So you're right
No,
smack
no,
in the
no. That
middle.
goes to the no, that goes to the.
Oh, the
Well,
other
I
one.
guess I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know which one it goes to now
Oh,
that you
well.
say that. So I don't know
Okay.
which one.
All right.
Regardless,
Well,
it's
the answer is the same either way.
yeah.
So,
Well, and I was thinking with the word novel, it was like, well, once something is not novel, it's not novel anymore. So that does not mean that there can't be connection and intimacy. Dr. Rob did, on this webinar in early June, he talked about the top 15 words when you look up intimacy, none of them are sex. And so can there be connection? Hopefully, like you're talking about, like if it's been a year and you guys are doing, really well and connected, fantastic, but no, the intensity that an addict is seeking in active addiction is not replaced by someone who's familiar, but the connection with someone who's familiar, is way more, well, way more vulnerable, but way more
yeah,
connected, better, not
yeah.
just not intense. So
Yeah, let me add to what Tammy said and to my answer. Porn addiction and sex addiction in general are intensity based addictions. Pornography is what we call a super stimulus. We get basically the same high from porn that we get from cocaine. I mean, the porn brain and cocaine brain are indistinguishable when you look at them. Um, the high that porn delivers is an unnatural high, and novelty feeds into that. And when I talk to my porn addict guys, I'll say, how many of you see that one image or video? It's like, oh, the angels are singing. It's like the best thing ever. And then you see it the next day, and it's like, yeah, you know, objectively, it might still be hot, but they've seen it. Pornography is a lot more subject to the novelty factor than a partner that I actually love. The only neurochemicals I get with pornography are dopamine and adrenaline, the exact same neurochemicals and the exact same dose that I get from cocaine. When I'm with someone I love and care about, yeah, I'm still getting some dopamine and adrenaline, not as big a rush, but I'm also getting serotonin, which is a connective, oxytocin, these chemicals that help me feel safe and loved and desired and wanted and important. Um, Sex with a loving partner or between loving partners is much more of a multifaceted event than just pornography. So what we're shooting for with recovering addicts is to realize, oh, there's a lot more to this than I was cheating myself. I want addicts to realize they were cheating themselves. They were also cheating their partners, but they were also cheating themselves because they were not getting the full experience that everyone truly craves. Every person on earth craves feeling connected. Um, and pornography is a poor substitute for that. So,
So the box of books arrived. I'm going to hold this one up. This is Porn Addiction 101. So I mentioned before we hit record that Scott's teaching both the Sex Addiction 101 and Porn Addiction 101 that start in November. You will find those on Seeking Integrity under the work group tab. All of our work groups are live facilitated. It's not just watching a video and pretending like you got, stuff. So it's like you get to ask questions. You get
yeah.
someone will say something in the group and you go, oh, I hadn't thought of that, and yes, that's exactly right. So there's, and a lot of those guys, and this is true with the Betray Partners groups too, like connect so that there is connection outside of the group. It's optional, but there's a lot of people that are serious about making this different, and are willing to go to that link. So again, $395 for an entire 6-week course, live facilitated, solid. Many therapists recommend these for their clients because this is not the same as going to therapy. This is what you don't get in therapy. So this really supports that work. So that's my major plug. But I also wanted to let you know that I did receive the Porn Addiction
Awesome.
101 book. So,
Um,
okay.
you read.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions about how to lean in and show empathy towards my partner when she is being triggered? When she is triggered, she becomes very critical. I'm the addict. I think this is the one that was 3 months, but let's pretend whether it is the correct one or not. Let's pretend.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably give a short answer, and then Tammy's better with the trade partner stuff. But I can tell you, as an addict, your job is to keep your side of the street clean. Period. You cannot make your partner feel anything. Guys are like, how can I make my partner feel better? How can I make my partner trust me? Like, you can't. That is not up to you. She will come around when she starts to trust you. So keep your side of the street clean, tell the truth, be honest, and stop acting out. Stop with the lies, stop with the secrets, stop with the gaslighting. Um, you know, get into therapy, come to my work group, come to Inpatient with Seeking Integrity, whatever. It's not my group, it's Seeking Integrities, but I'm teaching it. Um, you know, and betrayed partners, they get triggered. Betrayed partners display symptoms characteristic of post-traumatic stress disorder. There is a lot of research, and being betrayed by the person you love the most and trust the most is, I don't know, that's got to be the worst kind of betrayal there is. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible trauma. Someone who's supposed to always have your back just stuck a knife in it and twisted it, and now they want you to trust them again. I'm talking to the addict here. It's not going to happen overnight. Dr. Rob usually says a year or more before trust is restored. And until then, it's a roller coaster ride. When the roller coaster hits the down, your job is to say, I can tell that you're angry with me. I know it's because of my past behavior. I'm working on it. What can I do to make things right in the moment? And then you shut up. That's your job as the addict. I'll let Tami take it from here.
Yeah, don't say, but you got to understand. No, she doesn't. And I think it's a generous that trust can be built in a year. Remember, and using he and she pronouns, but you knew all along you were acting out. She didn't. Like, so this is new. She's at like a starting point of like all of this that I thought was true in my life is not, and questioning everything. The only caveat I'll make to what Scott said, like, tell the truth within parameters. Like, don't do a do-it-yourself disclosure. Like, those
Right.
are horrible. And I get all the time partners or addicts going, but she asked me. And I'm like, yeah, she wanted to know. She wants safety,
Yeah.
but you have no, like, the partners, it's so much harder for partners when they've been extra traumatized by gory details. I mean, I seriously, I talked to so many and they're like, I am completely flooded with, images that are stuck in my head. So I understand you want to know the details.
Yeah.
I am working towards that. I am working towards being able to do my formal therapeutic disclosure. We're working with qualified professionals so that we make sure we're setting the foundation for healing. But yeah, triggers, yes.
Yeah.
And what you will learn is if I'm triggered, there's data for me. There's something going on. So it's fair to say, is there something I can do, or not do, in this moment,
Yeah.
that would be helpful. Also having a plan, like, I think it's really better to have a discussion, like, when you get upset and triggered, what would be helpful? Because I want to do something, because sometimes, if we're in that kind of spin, I don't even know what I need in that moment. But if I was able to think about, like, I think in that moment, I need you to just stand there and be with me. I don't want you to say anything. I don't want you to try to fix it because you can't. Um, but here's the thing, and Scott alluded to it too. This is really uncomfortable for addicts. This is what we have avoided. Like, all of this uncomfortable stuff is exactly what we avoided all of our acting out careers. And so here we are working to not do those same problematic behaviors. And, now our partners know and are upset, understandably. The biggest thing, like Scott said, keep your side of the street clean. But the more you dig into your recovery work and show with your actions, not lips moving, which lie, and the more support your partner has, again, we have so many resources for partners, as part of this, including the Empowered Women's Retreat. Guess what we don't talk about? The addicts. We're talking about healing for the partners with those. And the what are healthy boundaries for partners? Like, it's not about control or punishment. It is like, what do I need to do to take care of me? Because the person that I trusted the most in the planet has betrayed me, has shown me that they are not trustworthy. Everything gets turned upside down. Just plan on it being uncomfortable. But the more you do for you, and it's not just for you, the more you do for your recovery work, the more, like, you'll get more settled. I love the steps. Scott does too. We did a webinar, on the 12 steps, and, steps 4 through 9 are house cleaning. The sooner you get and really do the meat of the 12-step program, the more things start to change. I share with lots of people, nothing changes if nothing changes. And lots of people, fiddle around and kind of straddle the fence and don't really do the work. And guess what? They don't get all of the relief, that Scott was talking about just a bit ago, about, like, it's so much better in recovery. And we are cheating ourselves when we're in active addiction. We just don't know that. So we've got our heads down, focused on our addiction. So you can't, I get lots of guys that are going, how do I heal her? And I'm like, you can't.
Yeah.
You doing your work, because otherwise, here's the other thing. It's a deflection. Oh, I don't have to worry about me and working on me. I'm going to focus on healing her. No, the more you do to work on you and to shift, that will start to make a path to healing and a foundation for recovery. But, this is a journey. Like, you were acting out for a long time, and now it isn't going to switch in a hot second. So
Yeah. This next question is from a couple who had discovery in June. The addict is seeing a CSAT, the partner is seeing an APSAT. The question is, I've heard that couples therapy isn't recommended in the beginning. How come?
oh, that's a good one.
But sometimes couples therapy is useful in the beginning, but um, check out Matt Wheeler's one that I did with him a couple weeks ago. He talks about this. In the beginning, it's the don't kill me stage. So if you're going to do couples therapy in the beginning, it is literally about how are we going to get through the day without killing each other. The rest of the work at that stage should not be on deeper relationship issues. I've got to clean up my side of the street. My betrayed partner needs to work through the pain, so that eventually we can come together and hear each other in a healthy way and do productive couples therapy. So couples therapy isn't always a no-no right away, but early couples therapy this soon after discovery is about how setting boundaries, like how are we going to agree to disagree? Who's taking out the trash? Who's picking the kids up? It's like the day-to-day logistics of being in a relationship together. Later on, we work on deeper issues. Tammy, thoughts?
Yeah, I get this all the time. And here's most couples therapists aren't trained in this work. And most people go out running off to a couples therapist because we need to work on our marriage. And guess what? The coupleship is the client, neither of you. What you each need, and what I hear you getting is, I'm working with a CSAT as an addict, and I'm going to get the accountability. I'm going to have a treatment plan. I'm going to have a plan for my recovery. APSAT, coaching, counseling in trauma. Yes, support, completely different modalities. And you know what I often recommend is that your two qualified therapists can do a conjoint session with the two of you to work on navigating, some sticking points and whatever. And then honestly, often after a formal therapeutic disclosure, then a couples therapist who has release assigned to talk to both of your therapists or doing conjoint makes a lot of sense. So if there's like some really hot button issues, like how do we not kill ourselves, that would be important to know. But otherwise, like, here's what often happens. The addict doesn't get accountability, and the partner is feeling betrayed because there's so much going on to support the addict. And it often feels like there's a manipulation of like, well, if you just did whatever, what, in other words, blame shifting onto a partner. So are there exceptions to this? Absolutely. Matt Wheeler is one of the few therapists. I said, if everybody could have Matt for a couples therapist, then maybe couples therapy early in the process could work. But most people aren't trained like this. And I hear
But
the
even
horror
Matt
stories.
says only rarely.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. So
yeah.
you guys are working with qualified professionals. Hopefully you're starting to see, you're very early in the process, but hopefully you're starting to feel like we're making, some baby steps towards healing. But this is the long game. This is the marathon, not the sprint. Like, this is life. And so learning to do life on a different path, will take time, but pays dividends for sure. So, okay. The next one is, it's not clicking there. How can I level up my empathy? Sex addict here, betrayed my wife. I'm about a year into sobriety and I'm active in recovery, 12-step program, therapy, podcast, books, etc. When my wife comes at me with intense emotion, when she is upset about how my addiction has negatively impacted her, I keep going into protective mode. Instead of having empathy, I show up with defensiveness and thinking about myself. Obviously, this doesn't help her or us. With some time, I can sometimes journal and reflect and do an okay job at getting outside of my own self. Appreciate your thoughts. Yes, this is.
I want you to sign up for the Healthy Intimacy and Sex work group starting in January. I want to see you there. We talk about this. We talk about this endlessly because empathy is not something easy for any addict, and especially not sex addicts. We have spent decades usually shutting down our own emotions. Every time I had a feeling, I knew how to fix it. I would get drunk, I would get high, I would look at porn, I would have sex with the stranger. I would just escape my emotions. Empathy is the ability to share someone else's emotions with them. If I can't feel my own emotions, how in the heck am I supposed to feel somebody else's emotions? All right, you're a year sober now. Perfect. You are ready for some empathy work. It's all about communication and curiosity. When your wife comes at you with intense emotion, um, your job is to say, the empathetic thing to do is to say, I hear you. I can tell that you're angry. I think under the anger, you might be feeling or worried that I'm going to cheat again. You might think I'm lying to you again. Do I have that right? And you pause and you let your partner talk and you try to reflect back exactly what they said, literally word for word. Try to reflect it back. And then you say, and then you validate it. I can understand, given my past, why you're feeling this way right now. You know, and you make sure that your partner understands that I'm validating what you're feeling. And then you say, if I did this, would that help? Or what could I do to help? Um, this is about, but you got to get to the, what can I, if you understand what your partner is feeling and why they're feeling it, it's really easy to do the other part, which is, how can I make this better? Um, but we don't like getting to the how they're feeling and why, because it brings up our shame as addicts. I'm an addict, you know, and I don't like feeling my shame. I run from shame. So I either run to my addiction, and when that's not an option, I get defensive. I do. I think you used the word defensive in here. Maybe you didn't, but I
Mhm.
get defensive. I start mansplaining, and that does not help. Instead of mansplaining, my job is to get curious. Can you tell me more about what you're feeling? I'm a little confused because I don't think I quite get what you're saying or what you're feeling. Can you tell me more? And dig until you understand it, and then it becomes fairly easy. But this is a process. It is a skill that we as recovering addicts have to learn. It's very clunky in the beginning. It's to the point where betrayed partners will say, sounds like your therapist told you to do this. And the guys go, uh-huh. Sounds like you learned this in the work group. Uh-huh. But I'm trying. Um, it's clunky. Um, it took me I was a year and a half in before I started having actual empathy, like truly feeling someone else's emotions with them. And the process I just told you is really about intellectual. True empathy is where I'm feeling instead of just understanding it. And that comes even later. Um, so you got a lot of work to do. But the fact that you're asking this question is a really good sign. It says you are ready for this next level of recovery, and your partner will notice and appreciate it. So, Cami?
Well, so the first, when my wife comes at me with intense emotion,
Yeah, we
like,
need to
and I'm
change
going
that
like, yeah,
language.
yeah. So here's the deal. Like, you are automatically like, you're looking for is, so I wonder, like, you guys are smart people. Could you have a conversation? And it's not about changing her behavior, just going like I find myself, becoming defensive when you have a situation. Could we have a discussion about it? Could we sit down, so that I always say, what's your goal? If your goal is to improve the relationship, is there an opportunity to, we've shared before about having, like, scheduled on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, we're going to sit down for 20 minutes. And this is not 2 hours or 4 hours. This is 20 minutes. And I'm going to bring something that's, if something's bothering me, I'm going to say, Scott, da 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 da. And, and then we're going to talk about it. And he gets time to, and then if we can problem solve together, like there's another opportunity, because then we're not like coming at with big emotions and I'm going defensive. The other thing I'm thinking is that you are probably Definitely going limbic. You are not in your thinking part of your brain because you're going defensive. And so, is there something you can do in the moment? Yes, there is. We talk about, breathing. It's okay to say to your partner, I hear you. I see you're really upset. Let me take a moment and maybe we can do some breathing together so that we can regulate, so that we can have a discussion about this. Ultimately, your partner is actually looking to interact with you, not just act at you. And so because she's coming after you, as you were saying. But I'm like, is there a way to say, can we have a discussion about I hear you, and I hear that this is really important, and I want to be fully present. And so I want to do what I need to do so that I'm settled, I'm grounded, I got my feet on the ground, I'm doing whatever I need to do. Can we just take a moment so that we can talk through this and
that's where
see.
just being curious really, really is helpful, because it slows the process down. And almost all couples therapy communication techniques, almost all of them, one of the primary goals is slow it down so that we're answering instead of reacting. And there's a big
Dr.
difference.
Eddie says that on webinars all the time. Slow everything down. And I'm
John
like,
Taylor
yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. Because I was like, I bet you're going like, I'm looking at her and she looks like she's coming after me. And so I'm going defensive, and all of that probably happens in 2 seconds, so there's no opportunity to go, oh, wait, I'm seeing that there's a situation coming. How can I, calm down? How can I, recognize that this is happening? So yeah. And yes, you're right on track. Again, just a reminder, you knew you were acting out all those times. So yay for a year. We'll applaud. You got a chip, and your wife is going, you shouldn't have been doing it ever anyway. So you can understand the situation and how that becomes complicated, so your expectation, like, yay, I got a year chip. You're not going to get gold stars from your spouse. So, okay. So I already have the website pulled up. In your experience, is it better to do a polygraph before or after disclosure? What can I do to prepare for disclosure that might be coming in a month or so?
Okay. I worked on Steph Karn's book, Courageous Love, with her, and it's all about the process of disclosure. She talks about polygraphs in there. It doesn't matter whether you do them before or after, particularly. I know that not everyone is a fan of polygraphs. I think Tami is not. I actually am. If I was doing
Well, the
disclosure,
American Psychological Association is not, and they have far more. Yeah. So yeah.
we're going to disagree on this one.
We're going to really disagree on this one.
Agree to disagree. If I was giving a disclosure, I would want a polygraph, and I would want it after, so that my partner would know, yes, I told the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
And those questions aren't even allowed by the Polygraph Association. Those global questions are not even in the ethics of the Polygraph Association. I did a whole bunch of research. So
okay, Tami and I are just going to flat out disagree on this one. I'm a fan of disclosure. I would prefer to do it after.
I'm a fan of disclosure.
Or polygraphs as part of disclosure, but I think you can do it before. Tami can say her piece.
There's
she's going to disagree.
Just as you're saying, there's no protocol, there's no efficacy. There's a whole bunch of questions that literally, I had the president of the American Polygraph Association reach out to me, and there are some questions like, is this the whole truth? Those are not even allowed in the polygraph according to their organization. But there's a reason why they measure stress. They do not measure truth. And I know lots of people who are really skilled at lying that can actually pass a polygraph, even under this. And as Dr. Rob always says, you can pass a polygraph and you can go on your way home and act out. So what is the goal? And if the goal is to build trust, there's lots of other ways. Dr. Rob and I both read, You Can't Lie to Me, a person trust your instincts as a partner. I think the biggest thing that I have a question about is, how do I prepare for disclosure that might be coming in a month or so? Work with your qualified therapist. Please do not be doing this on your own. This is the most talked about topic on the peer case consultation group with Dr. Rob. because these are trained people that are doing this. So, if it's coming in a month or two, you guys should have a date. What are you doing, partner? What are they doing? And if they advocate for polygraphs, make sure that you get 3 questions and they are not, is this the whole truth? Because that would not be, so somebody who's anxious will always fail. Like, I was talking to a guy one time, and his spouse was adamant that he have a polygraph, and I could tell just from his voice that he had anxiety, and I think he had an anxiety disorder. And he called me back, and I said, I will tell you it measures stress, and so, like, just understand. And he called back, and he had failed, and he was in tears because he was like, I told the truth, but he did not pass the polygraph. So you can get people who are skilled at lying, that can pass, and you get people that are not skilled. I think to me, it's always if I want, what is my goal? If my goal is to set a foundation for healing, is measuring someone's stress going to help me? Am I going to believe it if they pass? Am I going to believe it if they fail? And what is the goal? So, you can do a polygraph. I know someone was doing a polygraph, like every 6 months or something like that. So,
Do we have a webinar that I think Debbie did on full therapeutic disclosure that you can?
There's a couple of them
Okay.
on formal therapeutic disclosure, and the process for doing that. So, but just work with your qualified professionals. And again, there's infighting with the qualified professionals. Like, you can't believe, well, this is the way we do it. Make sure you're picking well, for qualified professionals to do that. But I put the link, American Psychological Association. They're kind of a big deal. Do not recommend polygraphs for mental health situations, which this is. So, but everybody gets to pick. Just don't call me if it goes poorly. My therapist says I can't fix my sex addict with sex. Oh, that's true. I understand that. It just so happens he starved me sexually for 20 years, and I'm on testosterone. I feel like I'm making up for lost time. She's picturing my acting like a prostitute when we're connecting, and it's not me trying to connect or keep him cheating. There is a difference, right? Do you follow that?
No, I can't tell
Okay.
if the addict or the partner is asking this question.
I think this is the partner. He starved me sexually for 20 years, and I'm on testosterone. I feel like I'm making
The
she's
betrayed
picturing
partner
me
is on.
acting like a prostitute. Oh my gosh.
I'm confused on this one.
So yeah, I am a little bit too, because she's picturing me acting like a prostitute when we're really connecting. So let's take it back a little level. You're right. You can't fix sex addiction with sex.
Right.
And if you are making up for lost time, doesn't have to be with your partner. And if the acting out feels like it's acting out in sex addiction, probably a problem. Scott just talked a little bit ago about how sex in a connected relationship is connected. It isn't, just roles and role playing, etc. So if a sex addict is in solid recovery and it's within the parameters of, healthy sex for that sex addict, then role playing and whatever else, can be, part of fun, right? Am I missing something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure what this question is, but again, healthy sex for a recovering sex addict is a physical expression of emotional intimacy that already exists. That's what we're shooting for. And as we get older, I mean, I'm not young. Tammy's not young. She looks younger. She looks really young, but you know, um, I'm sorry, sex changes. I'm not 17 anymore. I pull a muscle like when I'm weeding the garden. I mean, we it's different now, and maybe sex needs to be different too. And maybe this isn't about mind-blowing orgasms and you know who can make their partner make the biggest, craziest noises. Maybe it's about just are we having fun together? you know, Maybe it doesn't have to end in an orgasm. Maybe it's more about just feeling connected. Um, I mean, when I'm 85, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to be over it completely at that. But I do want somebody to sit on
Oh,
the couch with me
no.
and watch a
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe hold hands and, or maybe rubbing their feet because they walk too much today or something. I mean, maybe that's what our physical intimacy looks like. I mean, physical intimacy, we put all this emphasis on performance and orgasm, and that's not really not what it's about. I mean, that's nice. And when you got it, great. But is it a failure if, you know, things aren't working the way they used to? I don't think so. I think it's only a failure if we don't feel connected and we don't have fun. That answered your question, not at all, but I think it's an important point to make.
Yeah, and I added because you talked about like massaging feet. Well, sensate focused touch
Yeah,
because it does say when we are really connecting, and I'm like, if you're really connecting, again, I go back to I shared Dr. Rob on the webinar. Intimacy, the top 15 words had nothing to do with sex, and
right.
sex addicts, as we both know, can have sex with zero intimacy. So it what is the goal? If the goal is connection, great. Like there's lots of ways, and it can lead to sex and all of those other things. But we even talk about what is sex. So it's like have the discussion, like really have the discussion with your partner, and like talk about your feelings about like I'm feeling like this, or I'm wondering how you're feeling. I'm nervous, whatever.
Yeah.
Communication is the sexiest thing, don't you think, Scott?
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer if you don't laugh during sex, you're probably not having good sex.
You're not doing it
I mean,
right.
I'm sorry.
Okay, the next one, Scott. How can I avoid triggering when my husband takes calls from guys in the group and his sponsor calls in the evening? It feels so invasive.
Oh God, I love this question. Um, you know, and I usually get this from the other side because I mostly deal with addicts. Um, you know, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and my wife gets mad at me. Or I was walking down the street and there was this gaggle of hot 20-year-olds with rockin' bods. So I looked at my feet when we walked past, and that triggered my wife. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes you're just going to have to deal with the fact that your wife gets triggered, even when you're trying to do the right thing. And, your husband here, now I'll speak to the betrayed partner, he's trying to do the right thing. He's doing what he's been told to do repeatedly by people like me and Tami and Dr. Rob and Aaron, is, bond with the guys in your group, bond with your sponsor. Um, and here's the deal: intimacy. This is, Dr. Rob says sex addiction is an intimacy disorder. It is, no question. Um, I'm scared of intimacy. I'm scared of other people. I'm scared you will hurt me, which is why I turn to a substance or a behavior instead of you, the person who loves me and wants to be there for me. But you scare me. And I learn how to do intimacy from the guys in my group who have the same problem as me. So it's safer and easier. And if one of them decides they don't like me, okay, it's not going to hurt very much. If you decide you don't like me, it's really going to hurt. Then I work up to a sponsor. You know, then I work up to my life partner. Um, and sadly, in the intimacy parade, spouses are the last ones invited to the party in terms of the addict's recovery, because spouses are the ones that matter the most. So they're the scariest for me as an addict. Um, I don't think that probably makes you feel any better. But what I will say is if he wasn't taking those calls, if he was ignoring his sponsor and the guys in the group, how would you feel about that? So, you know, and your betrayed partner, everything's going to be triggering. I mean, not everything, but you'll be triggered by stuff and you'll be like, why is that triggering me? That makes no sense. The cat threw up and I'm losing my mind thinking you're cheating on me. That's part of, the post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. I'm not saying betrayed partners all have PTSD, but they almost universally display symptoms of PTSD in early healing. Um, Everything's going to feel triggering, and I wish I could just give you a hug and say, hang in there. Um, you know, make sure you have your own support. And I, if you're not getting an occasional call from somebody in the evening, you might want to find somebody that you can chat with in the evening when he's on with the sponsor. So you can say it triggers the hell out of me when his sponsor calls. I don't know why. And you got somebody who's also a betrayed partner and in recovery who can say, yeah, the same thing happens to me. And you guys can at least support each other and validate each other. So Tami may have thoughts there
Well,
too.
I'm thinking, Scott, I'm sure this has happened to you. It's happened to me. Have you gotten in the middle of the night phone calls from an addict in trouble going like, I need help?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And guess what? We answer the phone,
Mhm.
and now on the flip side of it. So I'm 100% with everything Scott said. Now, the one thing I wondered about is if there is planned time for you or your family,
Mhm.
I'm making this up. So say you've got kids and the kids are up until 8 o'clock, and then, it's from 8 to 9, he can have time for phone calls. And then after 9, it's you time. I don't know, but like, is there a way to navigate this so that there's some planning, so it doesn't feel like, so there's here's some windows of time and he can schedule those calls. But I'm still going back to, if somebody's in crisis and they reach out on the phone, I would put up with my spouse being upset. He wouldn't be, but I would put up with that, because like, that is important. I want someone to be on the other side of the phone if I'm in trouble, and I will pick up the phone. But yeah, I'm also going, here's the alternative. We either work on our recovery or we are heading back towards relapse. And so I love what Scott said too about making sure you've got,
Yeah.
what is it you're doing to take care of you? What is self-care for you? And it can be talking to someone else, could be, meditation, yoga. I don't know, I don't do yoga, but I'm not stretchy. So like, I would get hurt gardening too, which is why I wouldn't do it, so it's one of those things where, what can you do that would be self-care for you, so that it isn't like, he's ignoring me like he did in his addiction. It's like, I'm taking care of me. He's doing his thing. He's doing his recovery work. His actions are showing me he's making progress, and we're on this path, together, rather than it's, I know how it feels. I've heard this for decades of like, was never around, while they're acting out, and now gone all the time because of meetings. Yeah, and we need a lot of help, especially early on. So you getting the support you need will help a ton, and reframe it. It doesn't change what he's doing, but you can reframe it and maybe set some windows of time that would be convenient and work better for you. Betrayed partner, 4 months from discovery. We both have individual therapists specializing in sex addiction and betrayal. That's excellent. During couples therapy, if a partner interrupts the other partner or yells at them during a therapy session, is it normal for the therapist to not acknowledge it? I tend to interrupt. I have ADHD, and if he's lying, my betrayal trauma triggers, and I have a difficult time not interrupting. My partner has anger management issues. Today, during our therapy session, he yelled at me for unintentionally interrupting the therapist. He was he was already dysregulated, angling away from me, removed his hand from my leg, silent and previous in the session. He laughed after mentioning how many times he's broken up with me while he's angry. This is my initial trigger during the session. The therapist focused on unearthing my trauma triggers that existed before my partner, and it is why the laughing bothered me, and didn't talk about my partner laughing or until I brought it up again. This is why we don't recommend couples therapy early in the process. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about earlier, of like,
Yeah.
the focus is on the coupleship, but the therapist has gone down to you, partner, going like, why are you bothered by all of these things, and what happened to you as a child? Not the, oh my gosh, here we are in a session. But yeah, yeah, oh my goodness. What would Matt say, Scott? What would Matt say?
Matt would say you're at the don't kill me stage, and yeah, I mean, this is quick up. I mean, again, Tammy and I aren't there. We weren't there. We didn't see. We don't know how couples therapy goes. Otherwise, we don't know how far along you are in your recovery. He is in his recovery.
It's
But
4 months from discovery.
4 months from discovery typically is too soon for this type of couples therapy. You should be working on individuals. I mean, I might suggest discussing, hey, maybe we should put couples therapy on hold until we're both a little bit more stabilized, and then it can be more productive. Because this sounds like it was really unproductive today. Um, you know, and couples therapists do the best they can, but when there's a lot of back and forth, it's really hard. I don't think I could ever do couples therapy. I don't have, you know, but
Yeah, well, so and ADHD, I get it, but I have ADHD. It does not give me an excuse for, blurting things out. But I think the point I key in on, he is lying to the therapist. That so a long time ago, and I wish I could remember who said it because I've quoted it a whole bunch of times. I don't remember, but couples therapy early on is like both of you sitting in a canoe, and betrayed partner, you're paddling like crazy, and you're going in circles because there's only one person rowing. The other person is, not really showing up and doing the work, and it's still lying. And so at a point when there's enough recovery, there's enough, a good 3-circle plan, identifying that my middle circle is if I'm lying about something, it's a problem. Okay. But that takes a bit more time. But this does not feel like either of you are supported. I mean, like this feels
right,
like just dysregulating, like you're both dysregulated. You're dysregulated now. Like this, that's not helpful. That's not the goal of couples therapy,
right.
to leave being more dysregulated. Okay, I'm the betrayed and almost 5 months out of discovery. My partner and I both doing all the things, groups, CSAT, APSAT, virtual recovery program. I'm having a really hard time desiring or not physically freezing when there's physical affection from my partner. We have a limited contact because I'm trying to honor my nervous system and body. So he asked before consent first. This is awesome. So also he requested limited contact to keep himself in sobriety. This was already set up between us before discovery because he raged at least one time a month, and there would be a period of time after the yelling, cursing at me, aggression towards inanimate objects, and all things avoidant that I needed time to warm up again. What self-work do I need to do for myself, not only to be open to affection when the timing is appropriate, but also to not have to battle the freeze and turn off I feel. I also have a germ OCD. He used to be my safe person for physical touch, and now I have almost no physical touch in my life. We
Yeah,
have pets. I'm thinking, oh, you need a cat or a dog or both. So,
yeah. This started off super healthy here. He's asking for
mhm.
permission and things like that. And you're recognizing that, you know, you're nervous, your limbic system is saying, nope, 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 do not want touch right now. And I don't blame you when somebody's cheated on you. Why do you want to open yourself up to physical contact from them? Um, it sounds like there is more work to be done as individuals before. I don't know if this is a question about sex or simply just like holding hands or like a kiss on the cheek or something. But if you are not comfortable with it, well, no means no. Um, Even when you're married, no means no. Um, Tammy, do you have other thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'm
This
looking up
sort of
because I was trying
not
to
my
think.
area.
Yeah, no, but I was looking up somatic experience because I was thinking, I'm thinking two things. EMDR could be helpful,
Yeah.
but somatic experience is a body-centered approach to treating PTSD, and so that's what I was looking for. So finding a therapist to do some somatic experience, and your APSAT may be very qualified to do that. So I would talk to your person. If that person is not, they may be able to recommend someone. So they would still be able to work with you at, as for this, but they can refer over for for some of that trauma work. The EMDR is eye rapid. It's the tapping,
Eye
and I
movement
thank you.
reprocessing and
I
desensitization.
can never remember. It's just like it's bilateral, and it's super helpful. But honestly, with you, I was like kind of going, I wonder if somatic experience, could be helpful, for the body work. OCD, and you may wish to see, someone who's qualified to truly diagnose it. There are medications that could be, and we're not it, but there are medications for people who struggle with like clinical level OCD that could help navigate that a bit too. So So yes, I'm with Scott. Lots of stuff started out good, and but then it feels like this, like getting some real help. And again, somatic experiences, there's some touch on that, but like it's all safe. Like everybody would discuss that. The eye movement, you can tap yourself, so it can be self-touch or light bars, etc. So there could be no touch from that standpoint, but it can help process through some of those things too. So, but I'm glad you're reaching out. I think that there's some really some key things that could help you, make, a little transition. Because gosh, physical touch is so important. Like I said, I'm not joking around when I go, we have pets, pets, pets get a lot of petting because, it's important. Okay. Oh, and one more thing, physical touch, like we talk about the tapping and things like that, there is touch for yourself, that, like the, hugging and things like that. Don't minimize that either. So, is it normal for the betrayer to not be ready for physical intimacy yet? It's been almost 3 years since discovery, 18 months since disclosure. We've had some connection and a handful of times. When I tried again this past January, he said he wasn't ready and hasn't revisited since after promising he would. Initiation has been an issue during for the duration of our 20-year relationship and marriage, with me wanting to initiate more. Is this uh, is this what would be considered intimacy anorexia on his part?
Um, First of all, intimacy is emotional less than physical, but it sounds like you're talking about the physical expression of intimacy, which is missing. It's I run into this fairly often in 12-step meetings. Guys are like, I'm sober for 3 years and I'm still afraid of sex or things like that. There could be trauma issues. There could be 100 different things going on that only some serious therapy work, you know, with the CSAT, who is heavily certified in trauma issues, because there's probably something going on there. Um, you know, Often I get this question the other way around, where the sex addict is now ready, but the betrayed partner is not. Um, but either way, there's work to be done on his part. We don't particularly like the term anorexia in connection with emotions and sex, but avoidance is a more accurate term usually. And as an addict, I can tell you I avoid things because they're emotionally uncomfortable for me. So he's got some emotional discomfort in there somewhere, um, that needs to be dealt with.
So I added, there's an organization, IICS, Dr. Rob is a clinical sexologist through that organization, but they get addiction and sex therapy. And there are some people that I have suggested they reach out and find a qualified professional to help with that. This, whether he gets some help or you as a couple, get help. But there was an ad, the latest attempt to reconnect felt like such a rejection of me. I feel like if I don't initiate this part of the relationship, it will never happen, as he has this way of just turning certain things off. And yes, like Scott was sharing, we are really good at compartmentalizing and shutting it down and going, oh, that would be so scary. I would have to be vulnerable. I would have to be, like uncomfortable. And so avoidance unfortunately happens. Scott, why are many porn addicts into female domination?
I don't know. I mean,
Like, do you think that? I mean, do you think that's honestly? I don't.
First
There's
of all,
so much
I don't think
stuff. Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a generalization at all. Um, you know, Porn addicts discover anything that's in their arousal template, they will find it online. And it's, once you're aware of it, it's, you can't unbake the cake, or, once a cucumber is a pickle, it's a pickle, you know. Um, why are porn addicts into some, let's say some porn addicts into female, I don't know. Why are some porn addicts into BDSM? Why are some porn addicts into, diapers or whatever? I have no idea. Our arousal templates are massively varied. One of the things about porn addiction in particular, because, Internet Rule 34 and Corollary 34A, which we mentioned earlier. I mean, everything is out there. So if it is at all in your arousal template, even if it's hidden and latent, you will wake it up, you will find it. The one that we see a lot of that guys really struggle with, it's straight guys who are looking at transgender porn. And, they're like, I'm straight. Why am I doing this? It's like, okay, well, you're like 98% straight, and this is the 2%. Then there you go. And pornography does that. And often the more taboo it is, the more intense it is, the bigger the rush. So, sex addicts, porn addicts in particular, the content of what they look at escalates massively over time. And sex addicts in general, the behaviors they engage in tend to escalate. Before it was, maybe flirting, and then it's, by the end, they're like seeing prostitutes and getting massages. It's, public sex, all kinds of crazy ways we escalate to up the dopamine adrenaline rush. So this is just one of many ways that a porn addict might escalate the addiction.
I have another question for you. So if somebody's escalating in the porn addiction, that does not necessarily mean they're going to run out and do that particular. Exactly. So
no,
what you're watching
one of the things we know about porn addicts is just because I'm looking at it online does not mean I have any desire to do it in the real world. Porn is a pure fantasy. And fantasy is, it's a safety realm. I can do anything. I can be anyone. I laugh when I describe, porn fantasies for me, because it's been a long time, but I would insert myself into the action. And in the action, I was 20 years old with a full head of hair and a swimmer's body, because it's my fantasy.
Just like now.
I can be whatever I want in my fantasy, So yeah, female domination, and we can parse that from now until next week and probably not come up with the answer. And I assume you're talking about a specific porn addict in your life, because I don't notice that that's a particularly dominant.
There's stuff out there for everything, and so to have one category be more than I don't know. Okay, last question.
Okay.
I am 9 months into good recovery, but find myself failing at the R and AVR, which is really hurting my wife, as when I don't reassure her, she spirals into that I'm still acting out. I have assumed that she knew I was in good recovery and only seeking connection with her. What can I do to stop myself doing incomplete AVRs to give her what she is needing and asking for?
AVR: acknowledge, validate, respond,
and
reassure, make restitution. So, this is one of the communication techniques that we teach. Acknowledge, you said this. Did I get that right? Did I hear you right? No, what I really said was, oh, okay. And then until I can repeat it back to you verbatim, I haven't acknowledged. Validate is, I think you're feeling this, this, and this because of this, this, and this. Is that correct? And we get curious and we keep doing that until we understand what our partner is feeling and why. And then the R part should be the easy part. Oh, I did not mean to hurt you that way. I am so sorry. If I do this instead, would that be better for you? I mean, so I would suggest that you might not be doing the A and the V quite as well as you think you are, because the R part typically follows logically. And if you are doing A and V right and not getting to the reassure very well, tattoo it on the back of your hand or something. AVR with a circle around the R. And a lot of times, you might have to ask, it's like, Tami, I heard you say this. I know what you're feeling and why. I'm not sure what to do now. Can you help me? Can you help me help you? And that's usually, it's not ideal, but it's better than skipping it all together. So.
Yeah. Well, and if you both understand, you guys are really new at this, and with all due respect, 9 months, yay, again, yay, coins, and still like, oh, so yeah, to me, it would be much better to go, tell me what I could have done. Clearly that wasn't optimal. What would have been more helpful?
Yeah.
And I say this all the time, having those conversations when not in the heat of the moment, you know, hey, when we had that happen yesterday, you know, like it didn't go like I was trying, but I clearly didn't get it right. So what would be more helpful for you so that I can learn from this? Like that is super helpful. And even if she's like, well, you should know, I should know. I'm an adult male and I don't know. And so I'm working to learn. And, you know, so keep trying, and ask questions.
Yeah. Again,
Communicate.
curiosity, the cornerstone of empathy is curiosity. And you know, AVR technique is all about being curious. Did I hear you exactly right? Do I understand exactly what you're feeling? And usually, if the answer to those two questions is yes, the R part is easy. And if it's not, get curious again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And please, the reassurance can't be, oh, you know, I'm doing great. I'll
Right.
never do that again. You know,
No,
those
that's
global statements
no.
like, nope. Yeah,
Nope.
those are not reassuring. Those are massive red flags for partners.
That's a
So
red flag. Yeah. It's the opposite of reassuring. So yeah,
thanks for
keep
all the great questions, everyone. Really
yeah,
appreciate it.
great.
And thank you, Scott, for stepping in. Like this was a schedule flex, so thank you for making time and joining me. And on our Wednesday, we do have topics. We alternate months, and so we bring a topic and then answer questions. So so check that out. It's the first Wednesday of the month. And this week, Wednesday, Dr. David Fawcett, Switch to Troy Love. So he will be on answering your questions about sex under the influence, sexualized drug use. So excellent. So anybody who's got an idea that there could be co-occurring addictions, he's super helpful. Just an amazing resource for the co-occurring. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Scott. Bye.